I want to go into to talk about sleep a bit more. So although we've covered the sleep track a bit, I've actually come up with something to remember. And so we can look here and see, look, sleep. So we can remember sleep and the importance of sleep, and we've broken that down into screens, listen, exercise, eating, and prepare. So it's an easy thing to remember sleep. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about in sleep is screens. Now, because of the age that we live in, a vast majority of us spend a huge amount of our time in front of screens of different kinds, and an awful lot of us have a habit of, in the evening and during the evening and even in bed and even just before sleep, using screens. We might be doing work, we might be on Facebook, that was it, or to Facebook. So we might be on Facebook, we might be on social media, things like that. Now, I'm not against these things, but all we can point out is that we know that we need to get our sleep better in order to start feeling better. Now, screens emit a particular type of light, like a blue light. Now, that blue light can trick your brain into believing that it's daytime. So if we're using these screens up until we go to bed, your brain is thinking that it's daytime, and that affects the melatonin levels in our brain, and we need those melatonin levels to help us get to sleep. So if we actually want to start improving our sleep pattern, then what we need to do is to exercise some responsibility and discipline around a few things. Now, switching off any screens for at least an hour before we go to bed is a really important thing to do. Now, that's not me trying to be a killjoy, it's just explaining the neuroscience behind it, because these screens emit this blue light, it affects the melatonin levels, it tricks your brain into thinking that it's daylight, so your brain doesn't want to go to sleep, and it can affect you getting to sleep. Not only that, it depends what we're on. About the worst thing that you can watch when you go to, it is like the news. People seem to want to watch the news. Now, when was the last time you saw something good or inspiring or positive on the news? Now, does anybody cook? Do you guys cook?
I cook, but I don't enjoy it.
Don't enjoy it. Okay.
When I've got time in the holidays.
There's a thing in cooking called marinating. Anybody heard of marinating?
Yes.
So marinating is when you take something and then you might marinate it in some flavours or oils or whatever overnight in the fridge, and then it takes on those flavours. It absorbs them. Okay? I want you to remember this. Your brain is marinating in whatever you're thinking about or engaged in before you switch the light off and go to bed. Your brain is going to be marinating in that. So if it's pictures of the news or, somebody saying something upsetting on social media or whatever it is, that is the last stuff that's rattling around in your brain all night, and your brain is marinating in that. So be aware of that and make the last thing that goes into your brain at night something that you would actually like your brain to be marinating in. So maybe some nice relaxing music, yes, something like that. So maybe look at changing what we're engaging with before we go to bed at night, so that we've actually, we've actually got something that we want in our brain at night, so something that we don't want, and staying away from screens as much as we can for at least an hour before. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, any questions about that bit?
I've recently switched my phone because I listen for your sleep app through my phone. I've recently turned it off to go into nighttime mode, so it doesn't emit so much blue light, it emits an orange light instead. So that's a change that I made to my phone. I didn't want to be, because I don't use my phone before I go to bed anyway, as a rule. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't waking up before I went to bed. I don't want to use my phone, so that was that. I turned it to night mode.
Brilliant. And then again, when we go to bed, if we put it onto flight mode, then it's not going to bing and bong and disturb us during the night. And if we've downloaded the tracks, the sleep track, then we can still listen to it.
I didn't know how to download it, so I had to listen to it through the internet. I wasn't sure how to download mine.
Okay. well, that's perhaps something that we can look at, and because it's important to try and find a way, if you can, to download it. But if not, if it's streaming, then we just have to stream. Okay, cool. So the next thing on sleep, obviously, is listen. So we've covered that by talking about listening to the sleep track. But again, during the evening, perhaps listening to something, again, recognizing that what is going in is in our brain. So we don't want to be listening to the news on the radio or anything like that. We don't want to be listening to things that's going to agitate our brain. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's listen covered. And again, how long, often I hear this, how long do I have to listen to this? Well, ultimately, it makes no difference to my life. These things work. It makes a difference to your life. So if you want to sleep better, these are tools to help you do that. So, when I am working one-to-one with clients over a period of maybe a few months, with things, there's only one rule that I have, and that is that they have to listen to the sleep track every night, because it makes that much difference. If they don't listen to the sleep track, then I'll refuse to work with them, because it makes that much difference. But it's not forever. You listen to it as long as you need to. Yes, but recognize, this is important, there will be people listening who say, no, I don't need it because I fall asleep okay. It's not about falling asleep. It might help with falling asleep, but it's about actually generating a better REM cycle to empty your stress bucket and starting to change the way that we think and feel about things. Yes, so it's not just about getting to sleep. That's only a little part of it.